There is something in tonight's sky that most Cancer horoscopes are going to gloss over completely, and if you have been feeling pulled in two directions at once today, this is exactly why. A plan that once felt solid may suddenly ask for more flexibility than you expected. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will understand not just what is happening, but why it is actually working in your favor. The moon is moving through your ninth house, the house of travel and learning, and as it does, it forms a square to Uranus sitting quietly in your 12th house of solitude. In plain terms, that means the planet of sudden change is rattling the part of your chart tied to hidden anxieties, and it is doing so right as you are trying to plan ahead. You may find yourself second-guessing a route, a schedule, or a detail you thought was already settled. This is not a sign that anything is broken. It is simply the sky asking you to build in a little more room than usual. A buffer here, a double check there, and the friction eases considerably. At the same time, something quieter is stirring beneath the surface. Neptune, the planet with no interest in what is practical or provable, has been drifting through territory connected to your goals, your roles, and the direction you are building your life toward. Neptune does not deal in facts. It deals in enchantment, escape, and dissolving boundaries between what is real and what is simply comforting to believe. Lately, you may have noticed yourself drawn toward daydreaming about a different path, a different role, a different version of your career, almost like slipping on a snorkel and drifting into deeper water without quite meaning to. That is not inherently a problem. The question worth sitting with is simpler than it sounds. What is that escape actually giving you? And where is it quietly taking you instead? Here is what changes everything about today, though. While the Western lens sees this Uranus square as a disruption to logistics and plans, the older, more grounded lunar tradition sees today's moon differently. In Vedic astrology, the moon is currently positioned in Aquarius, and that placement has a much gentler signature, one tied to home, family, and quiet domestic satisfaction. So you have two traditions describing the same 24 hours from two completely different angles. Western astrology sees the anxious ripple of sudden change. The Vedic lens sees a stabilizing pullback toward hearth and belonging. Both are true. The unsettled feeling you might carry today is not a warning sign. It is simply the growing edge before you land somewhere calmer, closer to home, later in the day. Let that sink in for a moment, because it reframes almost everything else I am about to tell you. In matters of the heart, this mix of energies plays out in a very specific way. If you are already in a relationship, the Uranus-Moon friction may show up as a small disagreement about timing or plans rather than anything deeper. Many Cancers report that the real trigger is not the disagreement itself, but the anxiety underneath it, the fear that something's slipping out of control. If you are single, the picture shifts towards something warmer. Current transits suggest an emotional current that feels exciting, even slightly overwhelming, especially if someone new has recently entered the picture. That overwhelm is not a red flag. It is simply what it feels like when your usually guarded Cancer heart lets a little more light in than usual. But here is what almost every astrologer misses about this stretch of days. Your natural instinct as one of the Zodiac's nurturers is to fix things, to smooth over friction wherever you find it, even when the conflict has nothing to do with you. Under today's Uranus-charged moon, that instinct is dialed up. You could spend hours trying to mediate a situation that was never yours to solve, and there is a real possibility someone with less than honest intentions could lean on your helpfulness a little too hard. The gift hidden inside this challenge is boundaries. Staying neutral, even when it feels uncomfortable, is what quietly puts the power back in your hands. We will come back to relationships in a moment, but first, your career deserves attention, because Neptune's fog is thickest here. Goals, roles, and the direction of your professional path are exactly where that enchanting, escapist energy tends to concentrate right now. You may find yourself fantasizing about a completely different career, a course, a reinvention. And that daydream can feel deeply seductive precisely because it promises an escape from something ordinary. The Western, psychologically minded approach to Neptune does not dismiss this pull, it simply asks you to notice its effect. Is this vision pulling you toward genuine growth, or away from something you would rather not face? A trusted friend or partner, someone with a sharp eye for nonsense, can be unusually valuable as a reality check this week. That same fog has a financial edge worth naming honestly. Momentum does appear to be building in your finances over the coming weeks, and the trend leans favorable. Still, Neptune's blurring effect means this is not the ideal stretch for impulsive spending decisions built on excitement alone. If a financial opportunity feels a little too magical, a little too easy, it is worth running it past someone grounded before committing. Now, here is what makes today genuinely worth remembering. Two completely different traditions, one focused on outer disruption and one on inner comfort, are both pointing you toward the exact same conclusion. Home is where your energy wants to land. The Western Uranus square unsettles your plans just enough to make you crave stability, and the Vedic moon in Aquarius rewards you with domestic satisfaction the moment you turn toward it. Most people scrolling through horoscopes today will read these as two unrelated forecasts. You now know they are describing the same pull from two different directions, and that is the kind of insight worth sitting with. Take a breath here, because this next part is personal. Physically and mentally, the day favors realistic goals over perfection. If you have set a health target recently, steady, unglamorous progress will serve you far better than an all-or-nothing push, especially with Neptune's tendency to blur what is actually achievable versus what merely sounds inspiring. Some Vedic practitioners may recommend Saturn-related remedies, such as specific gemstones or mantras, for individuals whose birth charts genuinely support them. This is not universal advice, and gemstone prescriptions in Vedic astrology require personal chart analysis rather than a blanket recommendation. What is safe and useful for everyone is simpler. A few minutes of quiet reflection, a walk without your phone, or journaling through whatever's stirred up by today's undercurrent of anxiety. Perhaps you have already noticed how appealing your own home feels right now, compared to the idea of going anywhere else. That is not laziness. That is the Vedic moon's domestic pull, working exactly as described earlier. Spending time with family today, expressing appreciation for the people who quietly support you, tends to land more meaningfully than usual. A small gesture, a message, a shared meal carries more weight this week than it might on an ordinary day. Socially, the same advice about boundaries applies. If a friend or relative tries to pull you into a conflict that is not yours, the neutral path protects you far better than diving in to fix it. If travel is on your agenda today, treat the Uranus moon square as your cue to build in slack. A buffer in your schedule, a double-checked route, a lighter itinerary than usual, all of these reduce the friction this transit tends to stir up. Spiritually, this is a fitting moment to sit with the Neptune question raised earlier. What boundary, if crossed, turns healthy imagination into avoidance? You do not need a firm answer today, just the honesty to ask it. For those who like quick reference points, brown is considered a supportive color for you today, and the hour between 5 and 6 in the evening carries a particularly auspicious quality worth noting. So here is where this leaves you. Build a buffer into anything time-sensitive today. Protect your boundaries in other people's conflicts, even when your instinct says to help. Let home and family take priority over chasing something distant. And when Neptune's fog gets tempting, borrow someone else's clear eyes before making a decision. None of this requires perfection. Only awareness, and awareness is something you already have in abundance. If this reading resonated, staying close for tomorrow's chart shift will only make the pattern clearer.